One Piece, Chapter 945. I know I've been saying in these past couple of reviews that so-and-so is the best chapter of Wano, but come on guys, this is definitely the best chapter of Wano, in my opinion. Had such a good time with this one, like, more so than the other ones by far. I got my boy, Sundown Rider, with me. We're going to be talking about this chapter, so let's get into it. What do you make of Kyoshiro versus Zoro here?
So I was a little bit concerned for Zoro at this point. Obviously Zoro's focused on trying to get to Orochi, but you see him huffing and puffing against Kyoshiro, and Kyoshiro's just there smirking, like completely calm. Like, what do you think? Is Zoro's injury concerning him? Is it hurting him?
It has to
or
be
is he
that.
just...
It has to be that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I can really think of, because, you know, when he was originally injured by Killer, aka Kamizo, I was like, is this going to hinder Zoro in this arc? And it looks like it is, so I suppose that's what this is. Unless there's something else that I'm not aware of, because that just happened, right? He just got wounded, like, the previous day.
Yeah, he's only had like a night to sleep it off or something.
And then he has two swords, so he's hindered by that. I mean, we already assumed Kyoshiro was a beast, but I mean, I think it's kind of affirming it in this chapter when just one of the fodders is like, what a strong guy! He's putting up a fight against Boss Kyoshiro! So yeah, I don't know if this is going to be Zoro's opponent. Like I said before, I still think Kyoshiro is Denjiro. I think that's going to be revealed. You know, we're starting to see the chess pieces align here, and it doesn't look like Zoro has a dance partner yet, so maybe Oda's just like testing the waters here, like throwing a few things at us before we eventually see who Zoro's going to face off against. Who do you think Zoro's going to wind up fighting? Like, you know, like his big fight of this arc, like his Pika fight.
Ooh, alright, so if Kyoshiro remains loyal to Orochi, I feel like he has to be Zoro's fight. But other than that, I feel like it has to be like Jack, or, well, it can't be Queen. I mean, like, we'll get to that later.
You don't think King? Because
I'm
King
feeling
does have
King-
that one katana.
Yeah, actually, he does have that long-ass katana, doesn't he? Because I was kind of hoping like there might be some sort of hint of betrayal this arc where Hawkins and Drake maybe even kind of defect, and then I feel like the supernovas who defect would fight against King, and then like Law, Luffy, and actually that's where Kid would come. Kid, Law, Luffy would fight against like Kaido.
I hope that's what happens. Let's go get into the next thing. So we saw Orochi's ninja dudes finally get into a fight, and they're not as powerful as I thought they were going to be. They kind of just seem like mid-level guys, like type of dudes that like Usopp would probably fight in the arc, you know, like that level of dudes. But more so, I just thought they were opponents for the actual ninjas, you know, a part of the alliance to go against, but I suppose that'll happen. But that leads us to the dude with the huge earlobes. Forget his name. He's like, it doesn't matter who we get, just capture one of them. We can interrogate them until they spill the beans. So I think this is Chekhov's gun here. I think this is totally going to happen. And I think the prime suspect is going to be Usopp. Because Usopp is not only featured in this page where the earlobe dude says that they're going to interrogate somebody, but he also has Otoko with. So it's kind of like two birds with one stone. So do you think that they're going to get Usopp? Because, of course, there is somebody else that they can get from the Straw Hats. But do you think they're going to get Usopp? And if they do you think he's just going to straight up spill the bean?
Yeah, so whether he captures Usopp, I kind of disagree, because I feel like the one person who they kind of have by the balls right now, and it's kind of apt that they have him by the balls because Fukurokuju's earlobes kind of look like ball sacks. I feel like they're going to capture Law, because
okay.
he really can't do anything against Hawkins but run, and he doesn't want to leave his kind of crew there again. He's the captain of his crew. He can't appear to save them and then run away. So I feel like he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he might be the one that's captured, and he's not the type of guy to spill the beans.
So speaking of Hawkins, his devil fruit is BS. It hasn't been established that he has awakened his devil fruit, but I'm sure that's what is going to be revealed, because it just has way too many abilities and it can do way too many things considering what its base effect is of just turning him into straw. He could literally do like 5 different things, which is insane, because if you just look at the other devil fruits, they're limited to like 1 or 2 things. So do you think that he has an awakened devil fruit, or he just has just a busted fruit?
I don't think he's awakened yet. I think his fruit is just busted. The only kind of good point to Hawkins at the moment for me is that at least Oda has been consistent, because it's not the first time we've seen him utilize something like this. We've seen him be damaged before and the people around him have collapsed or been hurt instead of him. At least it's incredibly consistent. We've seen that was like one of the first few times we saw Hawkins was when in the Sabodi archipelago.
Yeah,
when he gets his and the same thing happened then. He got his ass clapped, but people around him died instead. So at least that's
his thing.
Really consistent.
He can make like those straw dolls, and I don't know, he could just hoard them inside of him, and then for some reason they can just substitute for a person and then take the damage. There's no real rules about it. It kind of just happens. Like, I thought maybe he would have to establish it somehow by like touching you or marking you or something, but apparently it's just whoever he wants the damage to be redirected to, that just happens. I could be wrong about this, but as far as the rules of this fruit has been laid out, this just seems to be the case, which is kind of busted.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be something to it. I mean, like, otherwise he would have just, like, every person he fought, like, for instance, Law, he would have just, substituted his life for Law's life.
That's what I'm saying.
So then you really can't fight him. But he hasn't done that yet, so there must be some sort of rule behind it. And I think the other thing is he can only have a certain number of kind of voodoo dolls within him, so he can only, like, have a certain amount of lives.
It's 10, I think. 10 at a time.
Is it 10? Yeah.
So let's go to the next supernova. Drake taking on Sanji in this, and kind of an extended fight, at least for Wano. I mean, he's chomping at him, but he actually hits him with his tail. Like crushes him with it, but it doesn't really seem to do much to Sanji. So do you think that, what do you think of this fight, and then do you think that it's going to wind up being like Sanji's fight of this arc? This
is one of those ones where I really want to know, because X-Drake is that character where he's a bit of a wild card for me. I don't know. It's the same kind of with Hawkins. I don't know where their allegiances really lie. And with Drake, I think he might have been with Kaido for the longest out of the other kind of supernovas. But
I think Drake might have just willingly joined Kaido. Like, he didn't fight him or put up a struggle. He was just like, yo, I'll join you.
Yeah, which is weird to me. I mean, like, I understand that his devil fruit is probably the best suited, but knowing what we know of him in terms of his past, he doesn't really seem like the type of guy who would kind of position himself beneath a Yonko. So I feel like there has to be some sort of treachery there, something he might be kind of trying to learn from Kaido. Maybe he's going after the poneglyph.
There you go.
But so I feel like I don't think he'll be Sanji's fight of the arc. I feel like the arc needs to end with like first mates of the crew, like Zoro or maybe even Sanji and other teammates and stuff like that, other people of the alliance teaming up to take down like Jack, King, Queen. Because the reality of the situation is, I don't personally believe like Sanji or Zoro should be able to take on King and Queen by themselves, simply because they don't have enough experience yet. So I really want this to be like 2-on-1, 3-on-1 with every fight that's at the end, because it would be refreshing and it would actually be more consistent in terms of power levels.
We'll see what happens. So let's get into the huge, gigantic part of this arc that just, oh man, had me so excited. Big Mom breaks into the jail. We get an Enel face on Queen and the other Beast Pirates. I always love when we get the Enel face. We find out that Queen's devil fruit is, of course, an ancient zone, which we assumed it was because of the other All-Stars, the other commanders, they have ancient zones as well. Now we're finding out that Queen has the Brachiosaurus ancient zone. Wasn't expecting this. Kind of looks phallic-esque. Very phallic-y, but I'm sure that was a little joke that Oda was throwing at us here. So Queen, I don't know what he was thinking, trying to take on Big Mom, but what happens. I'll let you take it from here. What are your thoughts on this whole sequence?
Oh my god, I've mentioned it a whole bunch of times to you guys, to the viewers, that I do not like Big Mom's kind of amnesia trope. But putting that aside, when she turned up like that, and everyone knows exactly who she is, like Queen himself, Luffy himself, which was hilarious. I thought that was like awesome setup. But then for Queen to think like, because Queen knows how powerful his captain is, and Big Mom and Kaido are meant to kind of be like at least capable of destroying each other to an extent. So the fact that he had the balls to not only tell Big Mom that he would stand against her, but to also tell her that he's not gonna feed the food that she's looking for, which is like, it's a key point. Everyone there knows that, like, don't stand in the way of Big Mom and food. I mean, we have some of the fodders saying, I think it was that Babanuki guy, the jailer.
Yeah.
He says something along the lines of, when it comes to Big Mom, standing between her and her food isn't a good idea. And then, oh my god, that last panel where like he just gets his head buried into the ground, man. I don't think, and I'm not sure what you're thinking on this, but I don't think Queen is down and out, but he's gonna struggle against Big Mom.
Yeah. All right. So before coming into this chapter, I think the community as a whole was, I don't know, mildly sleeping on Big Mom. Just mild. Because of, how Whole Cake turned out and the kind of dynamic that Big Mom and Kaido have, in my opinion, is kind of establishing that Kaido is the stronger of the two. I'm glad Grimm's not here because he'd erupt right now if I said that. Yeah, of course, nothing is clarified. As far as we know, all of the Yonkos are relative in power at this point. But like I said, mildly underwhelmed by Big Mom. But now it's like, okay, oh, wait, I forgot. Big Mom is a frigging Yonko for a reason. And she just smashes Queen. I held Queen in a very high regard because of the aura coming into this character in this chapter, because this is at the top of the power scale. So anyone affiliated with Kaido is ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. Like, I think even more so than what Katakuri was. And Katakuri, he broke the mold, essentially, when he was introduced to the story. He set a whole new precedent of what a realistic villain could be in this series, outside of the Yonkos. So I thought, it's only going up from Katakuri and Jack, so I thought Queen and King, they're just going to be outrageous. Like, they could be Admiral level for all we know. So I thought maybe Queen could give Big Mom a good fight, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. There is a clear discrepancy in power between these two. So yeah, I do think that Queen is going to get up. It would be hilarious if Queen just gets one punched by Big Mom. But I do think that Queen is going to get up, but I think it's just going to be a further beatdown after that. Do you think that Queen is done after this, pretty much? Like, after the beating for Big Mom, is this going to be like a cracker type of performance? Like, establishes that they're one of the most powerful characters, but then is just unexpectedly beaten and then is out for the rest of the arc?
I really, really hope not, because I just want to see King, Queen, even Jack. I want to see them like go balls to the wall and really put in some effort, because I'm really hoping, even if Queen gets his ass whooped here, because the way I view these kind of the top tier of any Yonko's crews, I kind of see them all as, if the Yonko themselves, so if Big Mom, Shanks, Blackbeard, or what's his face, Kaido, if any of those four got injured or they were out of action for a while, then the next in line would be one of their commanders and they would take over captainship. So I feel like their strength levels need to not be almost that of their captains, but it needs to be at a level where people know that even if they were to be the captain, they're not in dire straits, they're still in good hands. So I feel like Queen needs to put up more of a fight to really show that these guys aren't just, there's not this huge power gap between the actual Yonko and their commanders. Because if Zoro fought Luffy, that would be an awesome fight.
Yeah, super competitive.
So I feel it needs to be the same here. Like, even though they're Yonko, it needs to be competitive. Otherwise, the power scaling is just kind of a bit out of whack.
Hey, I would like that. It would, in my opinion, it would make things super interesting. Like, if Queen can hold his own against Big Mom. But also, speaking of the other commanders, funny enough, I'm pretty sure Smoothie is around here somewhere, right? Because she was on the boat with Big Mom.
Yeah.
So we might see like commander on commander violence, when the war starts. Because maybe that's answering some of the questions we had. Because we're like, who's going to fight these commanders? Because it appears that Sanji and Zoro can't do it. So maybe one of these commanders wind up fighting another commander, like Smoothie or something like that.
Yeah, because we've got quite a few of the Big Mom pirates with us, don't we? We've got Smoothie, Daifuku. I think we have Oven. We have Peros Pero.
Oh, is he there too? Damn.
Yeah, so we've got some strong mofos on this island with us right now. So actually that's a good point, because then we wouldn't really need, the reason why I wanted kind of the supernovas to defect was because we needed that strength on Luffy's side. But if they choose not to defect, it would make more sense if, for instance, the Big Mom pirates, besides Big Mom, so let's say if Peros Pero went up to Luffy and he said, all right, we'll come up with a temporary alliance so that we can kick Jet out of Kaido's men. That would make sense to me, and then they'd fight against like X-Drake and stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying, because it would certainly be super exciting just for the arc in general. Like, it doesn't always have to be like the Straw Hats or somebody we're emotionally tied to taking on a powerful enemy.
Oh yeah, so the one thing I want to mention is we kind of glossed over it. Where do you think Beppo is?
Oh yeah, they've been kind of drawing attention to him.
It's been I think he's asked about him a couple times, yeah.
Because Beppo got wrecked and then got held up with the other dudes that we see in this chapter. The guy that gets his arm cut in exchange for Hawkins' arm. Oh no, so they do have him. because actually in one of the panels, Hawkins is like, I've got 4 lives right now. And apparently, you know, he has them all separated because the fruit that Law never uses anymore could be used to save them. I like when Hawkins would like that. He's like, you could just use your fruit to break them out. It's like, oh, could he? When was the last time friggin' Law actually used his fruit? Did he use it in this arc at all?
He's used it for like transport to get from like one place to another, but he's not used it in like battle, I don't think. But the thing is, like, so coming back to the Law versus Hawkins thing, and maybe Law getting captured. If there's one fruit which Hawkins cannot fight against realistically, because even though he has 4 lives now, and it's the lives of Law's crewmates, Law can disable him without killing him or without hurting him, because he can cut through the guy and just kind of separate his body, but it doesn't hurt him in any way. So I'm not sure how this is gonna go.
I assume that Law, using the room, can remove the straw men from within him, and then I guess he's screwed after that. But that's a good point.
Really good shout.
I'm thinking that Law versus Hawkins might be like Law's fight, aside from the possibility of him taking on Kaido with Kid and Luffy, because isn't this the 3rd time that they've clashed in this arc?
Yeah, it's like 2nd or 3rd. Yeah, might have been 3rd.
And hasn't Hawkins always kind of had a thing with Law, like kind of always had a beef with him?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, but it feels like it's like Hawkins is always kind of not like the Law. Yeah, so much speculate. So little time to talk about it, but that's pretty much it for the video. If you liked what you heard, please check out Sundown Riders channel, link in the description. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.